Hello and welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. This is November 12th, 2019. Hey everyone, so if you were waiting for that 24-hour stream to start last weekend, I ended up postponing it a week due to me getting pretty darn sick. I still did my normal Friday and Saturday streams, so if you showed up to those, just know that you're the real MVP. I am feeling a lot better now, just trying to get plenty of sleep to prep myself for this weekend. Anyways, let's get right into the news. So I'll just start off with the biggest immediate news of the week, and that is, of course, the highly anticipated Boneworks from Stress Level 0 getting not only a release date of December 10th, but also a pretty in-depth, no-frills gameplay trailer. Now, if you have no idea what the game is somehow, I'm gonna stay as spoiler-free as possible if you're saving yourself for it. Basically, it's a physics VR game with some of the most impressive IK and player model interactions that I've seen in any game, let alone just a VR game. There are guns, a pretty intriguing storyline, a wide range of hand-to-hand combat weapons. It seems physics-based puzzles will be a large dynamic of the gameplay, and in terms of details, I'll pretty much leave it at that. I've already made a video detailing some in-depth breakdown of the story elements, so if you want to watch that, I'll leave it in the description for you. Like I said, this has to be one of the most highly anticipated VR games I have ever seen, and from what's been shown so far, it's for good reason. This is the same studio behind Duck Season and Hover Junkie, two other VR games that are great in their own right, so there's certainly some clout behind these guys' projects. I've talked multiple times about AAA studios and gigantic devs being too scared to touch VR at this point in time, and that's okay. Smaller, highly focused, and talented studios like Stress Level 0 are really the talent that we need in this industry. Either way, like I said, December 10th, be ready for Boneworks to drop. Keeping with the Boneworks train, you may have remembered that back at OC6, SLZ made a very short teaser for an Oculus Quest spin-off within the Boneworks universe. Really, the only information that was given was that something was coming. No gameplay, no hints, just an announcement of a project, that being Project 4. Brandon from Stress Level 0 has confirmed on Twitter that we won't be hearing anything about that Quest spinoff until 2020. Quote, Project 4 won't reemerge until next year, end quote. Now, what Project 4 could be is totally besides me. Is it a physics-based shooter like from what we've seen from current Boneworks gameplay, or is it something else entirely? We have absolutely no idea. But it will be interesting to see how far these guys can push the Quest. Looking at the minimum and recommended specs for Boneworks itself, it's shaping up to be a pretty demanding title. Possibly one of the most demanding big VR games that has ever been released. Likely due to the visuals, but also because of the CPU-intensive physics interactions that are taking place. Obviously, the Quest doesn't have the hardware capabilities of even a minimum spec VR-ready PC, so what is actually coming could be something totally new. I'm sure that we'll be hearing about it sometime in the coming months, but don't expect any info on it anytime soon at least. In the meantime, if you're a Quest user, just work on getting a VR PC and Oculus Link set up so you could play Boneworks when it does release. And now, I want to talk about something that is totally different from usual. This isn't even necessarily news from this week, but something that someone sent me on Twitter that I found far too interesting to not at least bring up. So there's a Swiss company called SensorX that specializes in making the very thing that we all want, or at least that I want. That being true VR gloves. Their line of products called VR Free has already been around for a little while now, I just have never heard of them. Currently, they have a VR glove that you could buy right now, and it's supposedly compatible with just about every major headset out there, and it works with quite a bit of software. However, it's really aimed specifically for the simulator crowd. So these gloves currently cost around $650, but you get the gloves, the required head module, as well as the batteries and the cable. Yeah, so basically the way it works is this module that you attach onto your headset is what does all the grunt work of actually tracking the gloves and offers 0 latency millimeter scale precision, which sounds pretty sweet. So this thing has already been out, sorely undercovered, but it's still not new. What is new is what's coming from SensorX to be presented at CES very soon. And there's actually two things that get me excited here. First, staying with the gloves, is a true haptic glove that isn't a giant monstrosity requiring an air compressor and dedicated operator to function. Right now, if you search up VR gloves, you'll get results ranging from the $1,000 high fives to the gigantic haptics gloves that I've taled about earlier that literally need an entire air compressor to run. From looking at VR-Free's haptic gloves, you get pretty much the same feature set of the original fingerless gloves, but with haptic as well as resistance feedback, which is something huge for something of this small of a form factor. What really made me want to talk about SensorX though was something called the VR-Free Sole. This is actually a sole that you put in your shoe, has a high-resolution sensor map that can provide information like whether the user is standing, sitting, walking, or even climbing stairs with an accuracy of 99%. According to SensorX, it's already being used in sports studies at this time, but we'll have a proper presentation at CES in just a few months. Really, I just love seeing all the cool places that VR is being utilized, and while I gotta be totally honest, I don't see the immediate way VR soles could be utilized to be applicable in things that I do in VR, at least not right away. But talking about all these concepts and other applications just make me excited for all the other ways that virtual reality is good for than just gaming or media intake at least. Unless you want a super accurate stair climbing simulator, or at the very least stair climbing tracker, and match that with some haptic gloves to juggle at the same time, it's just cool tech that I like talking about, and I hope that I'll maybe get to test it at CES. Gloves though, man, I'm all about that. I just can't wait for that to actually catch on. And now it's time for a meme break. If you've been around VR for a long time, you'll remember the soft type around the Roto Chair, a rotating immersion increasing chair made for virtual reality use. Originally, the chair had launched for $499, which honestly isn't too bad of a price considering one of the hottest chairs on the market right now is $399. And while yes, that does have a reclining back, does not have the advanced swivel features of the Roto Chair. Well, the Roto Chair is back 3 years later and costs, wait, what? $1,499 and $1,999 for the business version? I mean, I suppose they're now going for the enterprise and arcade market versus consumers now, but holy crap, that's a steep price for a chair. I guess it does have some pretty advanced features like vibration feedback and nifty headset cable management systems, but looking back a few years ago, I actually wanted one of the original models, and I even considered getting one, but was held back by even that price. But now that we have the price of the new models, I'm a little more than worried by how much it will actually catch on, but we'll just have to see. Okay, back to the news, and we'll talk some gaming news. I talked about Doctor Who Edge of Time on a previous Tuesday, and good news is that it's finally released. Today, actually. I've been currently testing out the game and haven't had a great experience on my Index, but on other platforms and hardware it is working really well, and the game looks beautiful. Like I've said before, I know nearly nothing about Doctor Who other than the very basics and have still been able to enjoy it. If you're interested, go ahead and check it out. I will say that the experience feels short for the price, but the experience is of high quality, so check it out and check out the reviews and see if it's for you. Echo Arena, the disc multiplayer component of my favorite VR game, was announced to be receiving a Quest port sometime soon, and that was a while ago at E3 that they even announced that. Well, after some radio silence, Ready at Dawn has announced that the port will be delayed until 2020. Along with just being a straight port, more features like AI are going to be added and multi-platform crossplay is confirmed. Unfortunately, the base game of Lone Echo and the part that I personally enjoy more, Echo Combat, is going to stay as a PC VR exclusive, at least at this point in time. John Carmack, CTO of Oculus and legend of gaming's past, was awarded with a VR Lifetime Achievement Award at the VR Awards. This is the first of its kind, and it's pretty obvious why Carmack would receive this award. He's been monumental to the progress that Oculus has made and the progress of VR as a whole. To top it off, his acceptance speech was one of excitement, realization of the reality of virtual reality's situation, and a clear showing of his passion for VR. Here is some of his speech. Quote, "So when I heard that I was up for a Lifetime Achievement Award for VR, I thought it might be premature. I'm often kind of grumpy around the office because I haven't been satisfied with the pace of progress we've been making. When I'm in VR, I see the magic there, but my brain is always throwing up these giant to-do post-it notes on top of everything, just reminding me of all the work that is yet to be done. So it's going to be a little while before I feel good about reminiscing about my achievements. But still, while I had my brushes with sort of the paleo VR back in the 90s, I do like to date the modern era of VR to when I was putting duct tape and hot glue on Palmer Luckey's prototype for Rift for E3 2012. And after that, I was really well suited to the systems engineering tasks involved in bringing VR to more constrained mobile chipsets and systems. But all of that technology really doesn't mean much until it's brought in service of users' value. So more than anything, I hope that I've been helpful in bringing this new canvas for people to work on, and that the work that those people do will be paving the way in the future. So thank you very much. End quote. There's a lot of passion and love, as well as time invested between the lines of his speech. He's of course unhappy with where things are at, and that pushes him to want to innovate further, which is exactly the kind of guy that we need in his position within the industry. Staying on hardware for a final story, Apple has been all over AR news lately with their rumored augmented reality glasses that were supposed to be coming later in 2020, and even rumors of Valve working with Apple with both their AR headset and something that may happen a little later. Turns out the most recent rumors provide a totally different image of what may be coming from Apple. It seems that the company is pushing to compete more directly with Facebook and Oculus with an actual VR headset with AR compatibility, expected around 2022. A publication, The Information, states that the headset is codenamed N301 and will have a similar form factor to the Quest, but of course in typical Apple fashion, lighter and sleeker in design. Of course, all of this is pretty much an insider leak and speculation for the most part, but it's interesting to imagine a world where Apple steps into the world of AR and the VR world. Is Apple really what we need for VR to hit true absolute mass adoption levels? I mean, they did it with tablets, phablets, smartphones, and smartwatches. I don't know, as unsure as that future sounds and as far off as it is, of course, all this stuff could just get canceled and we'll never see it. Having Apple in the game really doesn't sound like such a bad thing for all of us, especially if it brings that huge mass adoption that we're all talking about that we wanted, last year. I guess, what do you think about this maybe unpopular stance? But I don't see how it could really be a bad thing to have more competition and have a big company like Apple make something popular. Hey, well, I will be streaming later on Twitch, so make sure to stop by and say hey. We can discuss pretty much whatever you want or just have a good time. Also, the ThrillSeeker Discord is poppin'. Some great on and off topic VR discussions and really just have a fun group of people in general, so become a ThrillSeeker today and join in. I also want to thank everyone on screen that you see right now for being an amazing Patreon supporter. I couldn't be doing any of this without you. And that's the week's news. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.